Shri Yudhishthira Maharaja said, "O Janardana, what is the name of the Ekadashi that occurs during the light fortnight, or Sukla Paksha of the month of Vaisakha, which falls around April to May? What is the process for observing it properly? Kindly narrate all of these details to me." The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, replied, "O blessed son of Dharma, I shall now describe to you what Vasishtha Muni once told Lord Ramachandra. Please listen to me attentively." Lord Ramachandra asked Vasishtha Muni, "O great sage, I would like to hear about the best of all fasting days, that day which destroys all kinds of sins and sorrows. I have suffered long enough in separation from my dear Sita, so I wish to hear from you about how my suffering can end." The sage Vasishtha replied, "O Lord Rama, O you whose intelligence is so keen simply by remembering your name, one can cross the ocean of the material world. You have asked me to benefit all of humanity and fulfill everyone's desires. I shall now describe that day of fasting which purifies the entire world. O Rama, that day is known as Vaisakha-sukla Ekadashi, which falls on Dvadashi. It removes all sins and is famous as Mohini Ekadashi. Truly, O dear Rama, the merit of this Ekadashi frees the fortunate soul who observes it from the network of illusion. Therefore, if you want to relieve your suffering observe this auspicious Ekadashi perfectly, for it removes all obstacles from one's path and relieves the greatest miseries. Kindly listen as I describe its glories. The greatest sins are nullified for one who hears about this auspicious Ekadashi. On the banks of the Sarasvati River, there was once a beautiful city named Bhadravati, which was ruled by King Diyutiman. O Rama, that steadfast, truthful, and highly intelligent king, was born in the dynasty of the moon, Chandravarma. In his kingdom was a merchant named Dhanapala, who possessed a wealth of food, grains, and money. He was also very pious. Dhanapala arranged for lakes to be dug, sacrificial arenas to be erected, and beautiful gardens to be cultivated to benefit all the citizens of Bhadravati. He was an excellent devotee of Lord Vishnu and had 5 sons, Sumana, Diyutiman, Medhavi, Sukriti, and Dhrishtabuddhi. Unfortunately, his son Dhrishtabuddhi always engaged in sinful activities, such as sleeping with prostitutes and associating with similar degraded persons. He enjoyed illicit sex, gambling, and many other varieties of acts aimed at gratifying the senses. He disrespected the demigods, the Brahmins, the forefathers, and other elders of the community, as well as his family's guests. The evil-hearted Dhrishtabuddhi spent up his father's wealth indiscriminately, always feasting on untouchable foods and drinking alcohol to excess. One day, Dhanapala kicked Dhrishtabuddhi out of the house after he saw him walking along the road arm in arm with a known prostitute. From then on, all Dhrishtabuddhi's relatives were highly critical of him and distanced themselves from him. Extremely critically, all his inherited ornaments and become destitute. The prostitute also abandoned him and insulted him because of his poverty. Dhrishtabuddhi was now full of anxiety and also hungry. He thought, what should I do? Where should I maintain myself? He then began to steal. The king's constables arrested him, but they released him when they learned who it was, and that his father was the famous Dhanapala. He was caught and released in this way many times. But at last, sick of his arrogance and total disrespect for others and their property, the ill-mannered Dhrishtabuddhi was apprehended, handcuffed, and then beaten. After whipping him, the king's marshals warned him, "O evil-minded one, there is no place for you in this kingdom." However, Dhrishtabuddhi was freed from his tribulation by his father, and immediately thereafter entered the dense forest. He wandered here and there, hungry and thirsty and suffering greatly. Eventually, he began killing the jungle animals, the lions, deer, boars, and even wolves for food. His bow was always ready in his hand. Always on his shoulder was his quiver full of arrows. He also killed many birds, including chakoras, peacocks, kanakas, doves, and pigeons. He unhesitatingly slaughtered many species of birds and animals to maintain his sinful way of life, the sinful results accumulating increasingly each day. Because of his previous sins, he was now immersed in an ocean of great sin that was so relentless that it appeared that he could not get out. Dhrishtabuddhi was always miserable and anxious, but one day, during the month of Vaisakha, he chanced upon the sacred Ashrama of Kaundinya Muni by the force of some of his past merit. The great sage had just finished bathing in the Ganges River, and water was dripping from him still. Dhrishtabuddhi had the great fortune to touch some of those water droplets falling from the great sage's wet clothing. Instantly, Dhrishtabuddhi was freed of his ignorance, and his sinful reactions were reduced. Offering his humble obeisances to Kaundinya Muni, Dhrishtabuddhi prayed to him with joined palms. "O great Brahmana, please describe to me some of the atonement I may perform without too much endeavor. I've committed so many sins in my life, and these have now made me very poor." The great rishi replied, "O son, listen with great attention, for by hearing me your life will change, and you will become free of all your remaining sins. In the light fortnight of this very month, Vaisakha, April-May, there occurs the sacred Mohini Ekadashi, which can nullify sins as vast and weighty as Mount Sumeru. If you follow my advice and faithfully observe a fast on this Ekadashi, which is so dear to Lord Hari, you will be freed from all the sinful reactions of many births." Hearing these words joyfully, Dhrishtabuddhi promised to observe a fast on Mohini Ekadashi, according to the sage's instructions and direction. O best of kings, O Ramachandra Bhagavan, by fasting completely on Mohini Ekadashi, the once sinful Dhrishtabuddhi, the prodigal son of the merchant Dhanapala, became sinless. Afterwards, he achieved a beautiful transcendental form and, free at last of all obstacles, rode upon the carrier of Lord Vishnu Garuda to the supreme abode of the Lord. O Ramachandra, the fast day of Mohini Ekadashi removes the darkest illusory attachments to material existence. There is thus no better fast day in all the three worlds than this. Lord Shri Krishna concluded, "Therefore, O Yudhishthira, there is no place of pilgrimage, no sacrifice, and no charity that can bestow merit equal to even 1/16 of the merit a faithful devotee of mine obtains by observing the Mohini Ekadashi. And he who hears and studies the glories of Mohini Ekadashi achieves the merit of giving away 1,000 cows in charity." Thus ends the narration of the glories of Vaisakha-sukla Ekadashi, or Mohini Ekadashi, from the Kurma Purana.